Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we are taking a deep, critical look at the state of India's IT industry, right now, as of November 2025.
And we've got a fantastic set of sources to work with, everything from corporate financials to deep tech directives coming straight from METI, that's the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology.
And some pretty startling cybersecurity reports, too.
Yeah.
Our mission really is to make sense of this massive, almost paradoxical tug of war that's happening.
That's the perfect way to put it.
On one side, you see all this corporate caution, whispers of layoffs, profit struggles. But then on the other side, the government is betting the farm on future-proofing, just pouring enormous resources into indigenous tech.
It's a fascinating split screen, and that paradox is really the key to understanding where things are headed. You can't just look at the short-term job numbers.
So how are we going to break this down?
We've structured it to look at both. First, we'll hit the current market climate, so the jobs outlook, what the big companies are reporting. Then we pivot to the economic engines, specifically these global capability centers and the complex tax operations that come with them.
Okay.
And finally, we'll dive into the government's big strategic push. We're talking semiconductors, AI, and these huge digital governance projects.
Okay, let's unpack this. Let's start right where the anxiety is. The jobs market.
Yeah.
We saw an article from just last month, October 2025, projecting that silent layoffs, the kind that don't make headlines.
The restructuring, project-based cuts.
Exactly. They could hit as many as 50,000 tech jobs. That's a huge, worrying number.
It is, and you have to view that in context. It's a huge slowdown from the, let's say, exuberance we saw earlier in the year.
Right. What were the earlier numbers like?
If you look back to January, white-collar hiring was still soaring. It posted a 32% growth rate. But by September, the projections were for a 24% drop in new openings.
If not a collapse, but a very hard brake pedal.
A severe deceleration, yeah. Companies that expanded like crazy post-pandemic are now, right-sizing, focusing on efficiency over just headcount.
And you can see that pressure reflected in the quarterly results, even for the biggest players. They still have scale, but the cracks are definitely showing on the bottom line.
Absolutely. Look at the behemoths. Tata Consultancy Services, TCS, they're the largest, reporting over $30 billion in revenue for the fiscal year that ended in March.
A massive foundation.
A massive foundation. But the challenge isn't just revenue growth anymore, it's profitability.
Okay, so give us an example of that.
Take HCL Tech's Q1 results. They're a perfect illustration. Their revenue is up a respectable 8.1% year on year. Solid
top-line growth.
But their profit fell 9.7% in that same period. And they were very clear why. Higher operating expenses and a big financial hit from a client bankruptcy.
So if profitability is falling because of things like client failures, is the whole volume-based services model under pressure? Or is this just a temporary bug?
It's likely a bit of both. But the pressure to consolidate and automate is definitely a structural change. Firms know they can't just grow by adding more people anymore.
They have to get more efficient.
Right, and integrate services better. The merger that created LTIMindtree back in late 2022 is a prime example. They combined their capabilities to create a strategic entity with immense scale, trying to offer end-to-end solutions, not just generic IT bodies.
So size and strategic fit matter more than ever when the margins are this tight.
Precisely.
That makes perfect sense. And this cautious outlook, it naturally leads us to look at where global money is still flowing in. And that brings us straight to the global capability centers, the GCCs.
The engine room, really.
India is absolutely critical here. It's not just a back office anymore. We see firms like Accenture pouring investment into its Bengaluru hub to co-create AI and cloud solutions.
And the GCC phenomenon is central to India's value proposition. This is where foreign companies are consolidating innovation, critical functions. They're looking for resilience and talent all at once.
So how do they typically set these up? What are the models?
Generally, there are three. First is the outsourced model. You contract a local provider. It's low investment, but you also have low control.
Okay.
Second is the self-reliant model. The parent company sets up a 100% wholly owned subsidiary, a WOS. That gives them maximum control.
And the third?
That's the build, operate, transfer, or BOT model. It's a phased approach. A local vendor sets it up, runs it for a while, and then the foreign parent takes full ownership down the line.
And the Indian states are obviously very aware of the economic power these centers have. We're seeing them compete really aggressively to attract them.
Oh, they are. And the scale of the promises is staggering. Karnataka offers things like 40% capital expenditure grants and even reimbursing employee provident fund contributions for 2 years.
Wow.
But then you have Uttar Pradesh aiming for exponential growth. They've set a goal of attracting over 1,000 new GCCs.
1,000.
1,000, aiming to generate more than 5 lakh opportunities.
5 lakh jobs is 500,000 jobs. That is transformative. But this deep integration also brings a lot of regulatory friction, especially around tax.
Exactly. And this is where the short-term pain really shows up. When a foreign company sets up one of these GCCs, the biggest fight with tax authorities is almost always transfer pricing, TP.
Okay, explain what cost plus markup means in simple terms and why it causes so much friction.
Right. So the GCC is seen as a limited risk provider. It's remunerated by its parent company based on its costs plus a pre-agreed profit margin, let's say 15%.
So they add up salaries, rent, everything, and then add 15% on top as their price.
Exactly. The friction happens because Indian tax authorities want to make sure that 15% is a fair market rate, that the GCC isn't artificially keeping its profit low in India to avoid taxes.
So they have to prove its competitive rate.
And proving that, establishing comparability with local firms is incredibly complex and leads to just tons of litigation.
And then there's the other big headache, the goods and services tax, or GST.
Ugh, yes. This is a huge financial burden. If a GCC provides a service only to its foreign parent, it looks like an export right.
It should be.
But if the tax code classifies that GCC as an intermediary, someone facilitating a service, then the place of supply is considered to be India, and that immediately triggers an 18% GST liability.
And that 18% tax can't always be reclaimed, so it just becomes a massive cost.
A massive, unfortunate cost in the supply chain. That's the crucial nugget. The frustration isn't about paying tax, it's about paying a tax that undermines their entire status as a service exporter.
Is there any light at the end of the tunnel on this one?
There is, actually, and it's very recent. News reports suggest the GST Council is now actively evaluating a reclassification for these intermediaries to give them export status. If that happens, it would be a game changer for the ease of doing business.
That would be a massive policy shift. Okay, let's pivot now. Let's move from these corporate headaches to the national strategic agenda, which is being led by METI. The whole strategy seems to be shifting gears.
It absolutely is.
From just mastering digital adoption, which India has done incredibly well, to indigenous deep tech creation.
This is where the long-term vision is and where the big strategic money is flowing. On the hardware front, they're looking at foundational autonomy. They've launched the Modified Program for Semiconductors with a massive outlay of 76,000 crore rupees.
So this is about building the plants to actually fabricate the chips, not just design them.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And alongside that, you have the Design-Linked Incentive, the DLI scheme, which is all about incentivizing Indian engineers to design advanced chips right here at home.
And it's not just tiny chips, it's about high-performance computing autonomy too, right?
Yes, exactly. They want to process the data themselves. CDAY, the Center for Development of Advanced Computing, has developed the Rudra-I server platform.
Rudra-I.
It's an indigenously designed machine specifically for hyperscale data centers. It's a huge step towards self-sufficiency, moving away from reliance on imported systems.
So we're talking homemade silicon and homemade supercomputing. What about the really frontier stuff, like quantum? Is that still just theory?
No, it's actually being deployed as a testbed now. Look at the Metro Area Quantum Access Network, or MEQ-AIN.
MEQ-AIN.
It's India's first multi-point quantum key distribution QKD network. It's already operational in a 5-node setup in Chennai, connecting places like IIT Madras.
Okay, hold on. For someone who might not know, why is QKD, quantum key distribution, so important?
It's revolutionary. It uses the laws of physics to generate and distribute encryption keys. This makes them, in theory, unhackable even by future quantum computers.
Wow.
So deploying a working network like MEQ-AIN in a major city moves the country from the lab to the real world of strategically secured data. It's a massive step.
That's incredible. And AI is obviously central to this whole agenda as well.
Absolutely. The India AI initiative is multifaceted, but one of its key pillars is the India AI Innovation Center. The goal is deeply strategic. Develop and deploy indigenous large multimodal models, LMMs.
Trained on India-specific data.
Exactly. They aren't just importing models from Google or OpenAI. They are building foundational AI capability from the ground up.
And we can see the sheer scale of this vision in the extension of the Digital India program. Another 15,000 crore rupees through 2026. This isn't just maintenance.
No, it's continued investment in public goods. And the impact on digital inclusion is enormous. You look at something like Digital India Bhashini.
The translation mission.
Yes, the National Language Translation Mission. It uses AI to translate between various Indian languages and English. It makes government services accessible to everyone, regardless of their native tongue.
And for governance, I mean, you have to mention the One Nation, One Ration Card plan. It's cited globally as a gold standard.
It is arguably one of the greatest governance milestones anywhere recently. It's enabled in all 36 states and UTs. It covers nearly 100% of the food security beneficiaries.
That's almost 80 crore people.
80 crore people can access their subsidized food grains anywhere in the country. The digital integration required for that is just mind-boggling.
And this robust digital backbone is enabling high-impact R&D that directly helps people.
Exactly. This deep tech creation isn't abstract. It translates into real products. They're developing indigenous 1.5 Tesla MRI systems to reduce dependence on expensive imports. They're developing advanced laser surgical systems. This moves India up the value chain from service provider to IP creator.
What? All of this digital density, this scale, it comes with an inevitable and, frankly, terrifying companion. Cyber risk.
Exponentially increasing cyber risk. The more connected you are, the more targets there are.
And the numbers are just staggering.
The numbers are astronomical. CERT in the Indian Computer Emergency Response Team handled over 2 million incidents in 2024. 2,041,360 to be exact. That volume alone is a siege.
And the threat itself isn't static. It's getting smarter, harder to catch. That statistic about behavioral-based detection was really startling.
It's a paradigm shift. There was a 974.6% growth in behavioral-based detections. It jumped from 5 million in 2021 to over 53 million in 2024.
Okay, what's the difference? Behavioral versus the traditional signature-based detection. Why does that number matter so much?
It's the difference between looking for a known criminal's photo versus looking for suspicious activity. Signature-based is traditional. It checks files against a database of known malware.
If it's a match, you block it.
Right. But sophisticated attackers use fileless attacks or constantly evolving threats. Behavioral-based detection tracks what a program does. Does it try to steal data? Does it modify system files? That massive growth tells us attackers are successfully evading the old methods.
It's a constant high-stakes game of cat and mouse. What specific threats are targeting India right now?
They're highly targeted. You see things like the Shadowpad APT backdoor, a multi-module malware deployed via spear phishing against government or critical infrastructure to steal data over long periods.
And at the mass level?
At the mass level, you see advanced Android malware themed around popular government programs like fake CSC registration or PM Kisan Yojana updates. They're trying to steal personal and financial data from the general public.
So given this huge range of threats, how is the defensive posture changing?
It's strengthening through centralization and partnerships. The National Cyber Coordination Center, the NCCC, is operationalized to provide real-time situational awareness and share info across public and private sectors.
And they're building local capability, too.
Critically, yes. The National Center of Excellence has accelerated 142 cybersecurity startups. The focus is on developing indigenous defense tech, not just relying on foreign solutions.
So what does this all mean? The state of India's IT industry in late 2025 is really defined by this massive high-stakes paradox.
It really is, and it's something you, the listener, need to grasp.
On one side, you've got the cautious corporate reality, the employment contraction, the profit struggles for the big IT firms, and all that regulatory complexity the GCCs have to navigate.
And on the other side, you have this overwhelming, non-negotiable national commitment to the future. The focus, led by McKinney, is clearly on building indigenous deep tech. Homegrown silicon, supercomputing, AI. It's all about moving up the value chain.
Exactly. The key nuggets for you today are that India is focused on producing its own high-performance computing, like the Rudra I servers, and setting global standards for governance, like with the ONRC plan. That commitment is unwavering, even while global firms navigate local tax issues.
And this brings us to a final, provocative thought for you to consider. Given the vast, truly immense amount of citizen data now centralized through platforms like Aadhaar, DigiLocker, and the health data systems, and with the new digital personal data protection rules coming in, how will India strategically balance its pursuit of data-driven innovation with the exponential security required to protect a nearly 100% digitally engaged population? This raises an important question.